Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s horizon, watching the stars through the main window. The ship moved slowly through space, its engines humming softly. Jake had been exploring space for 12 years, but he still loved seeing new star systems. Today felt special. They were about to enter the Kepler 442 system, a place no human had ever visited before. "Captain, we're getting some interesting readings," said Lisa Martinez, the chief engineer. She was looking at her screen with excitement. Lisa had joined the crew 2 years ago, and she was always the first to spot something unusual. Jake walked over to her station. "What do you see?" "The fourth planet has lots of metal under its surface. Iron, copper, and something else I can't identify yet. The readings are really strong." Sam Parker, the communications officer, looked up from his desk. "Should I send a message to Earth Command about this?" "Not yet," Jake said. "Let's get closer and take better scans first. I want to be sure about what we're seeing." The horizon moved deeper into the system. Jake had a good crew with him. Besides Lisa and Sam, there were 15 other people on the ship. They were all volunteers who wanted to explore space and find new places for humans to live. Earth was getting crowded, and people needed new homes. As they got closer to the fourth planet, the readings became clearer. Lisa's eyes grew wide as she looked at her instruments. "Captain, this planet has more minerals than any world we've found before. There's enough metal here to build 1,000 ships." Jake felt his heart beat faster. A discovery like this could change everything for humanity. What about the surface? Can people live there? The air is thin, but we can fix that. The temperature is cold, but not too cold. There's water under the ice at the poles. Lisa smiled. With some work, people could live here. Sam was already preparing a message to send back to Earth. "Captain, this is going to make a lot of people very happy." Jake nodded, but something felt strange. As they moved around the planet, their sensors picked up something unexpected. There were structures on the surface that looked old and empty. They were too regular to be natural, too organized to be random. "Lisa, are you seeing this?" Jake pointed to his screen. "Those look like buildings," she said quietly. "But they're really old, maybe thousands of years old." Jake felt a chill run down his back. Someone used to live here. The structures were arranged in patterns that made sense, like a city. But there were no signs of life anywhere. The buildings looked like they had been empty for a very long time. Some were broken down. Others were covered in dust and ice. "Should we land and take a closer look?" Sam asked. Jake thought about it. They had permission to explore, but finding alien ruins was different from finding empty planets. "Send a message to Earth Command first. Tell them what we found, both the minerals and the structures." While Sam worked on the message, Jake and Lisa studied the planet more carefully. The mineral deposits were everywhere, not just in one place. The old structures were in several locations, always near the richest deposits. It was like whoever lived here before had been mining too. "Captain," Lisa said, "I think the aliens who lived here were miners like us. They built their cities near the best mining spots. Where did they go?" Jake wondered out loud. Maybe they used up all the minerals they needed and left, Sam suggested. Or maybe something happened to them. Jake didn't like that second idea. If something bad happened to the aliens, it might happen to humans too. But the planet looked safe now. There were no signs of danger, no signs of life at all. Over the next 3 days, they mapped the entire planet. They found 12 old cities, all empty, all built near mineral deposits. The cities were connected by roads that were mostly buried under dirt and ice. Everything suggested that this had once been a busy, active world. "The message is ready to send," Sam reported. "I've included all our scans and pictures of the structures." "Send it," Jake ordered. Mark it as priority. This is too important to wait. As the message traveled through space toward Earth, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. There was no reason for it. Their sensors showed no other ships, no signs of anyone else in the system. But the feeling stayed with him. Lisa was excited about the discovery. Captain, this could be the greatest find in human history. Not just the minerals, but proof that other intelligent life exists. Existed, Jake corrected. We don't know if they still exist somewhere else. Right, Lisa said. But still, this changes everything. Jake looked out at the planet one more time. It was beautiful in its own way, with white ice caps and brown continents. The old alien cities were like ghosts from the past, reminding him that humans weren't the only ones who had ever looked up at the stars and decided to explore. Set course for the edge of the system, he ordered. We'll wait there for orders from Earth Command. As the horizon moved away from the planet, Jake didn't notice the small, dark objects that had been watching them from behind one of the system's moons. He didn't see them start to move, following his ship at a distance. He didn't know that humanity had just made its first step into a much larger and more dangerous universe. The quiet expansion of humanity into space was about to become much less quiet. Admiral Ryan Cooper sat in his office at Earth Command, reading Jake Morrison's report for the third time. The discovery in the Kepler 442 system was exactly what humanity needed. Earth's resources were running low, and the population kept growing. This new planet could solve many problems. Admiral, his assistant knocked on the door. The Mining Council is here for the meeting. Ryan stood up and straightened his uniform. Send them in. 3 people entered his office. The first was Helen Rodriguez, who spoke for the mining companies. The second was Carl Thompson, who handled security for space operations. The third was Alex Harper, a colonel who studied alien technology. Admiral Cooper, Helen said, we've read Captain Morrison's report. My companies are ready to start mining operations immediately. Hold on, Carl said. We need to be careful. Those alien structures mean someone else might claim that planet. Alex nodded. I agree with Carl. We should send a military escort with the mining ships. Ryan looked at the 3 of them. The aliens who built those cities have been gone for thousands of years. Captain Morrison's scans showed no signs of current activity. That doesn't mean the area is empty, Alex argued. Other alien races might consider it their territory. Helen shook her head. We can't let fear stop us from taking what we need. Earth's mines will be empty in 50 years. We need those minerals. Ryan made his decision. We'll send a small mining operation with light security. 1 military escort ship and 5 mining vessels. If we find any current alien activity, we'll pull back and negotiate. I think that's a mistake, Alex said quietly. Your objection is. Noted, Colonel, Ryan replied. But we're not going to war over a planet that's been empty for centuries. 2 weeks later, the mining fleet arrived in the Kepler 442 system. Pete Johnson led the mining operation from the surface, while Captain Morrison kept watch from orbit. Pete was an experienced miner who had worked on 6 different worlds. He brought his younger brother Danny with him, along with 30 other. Miners thought the first day went well. They set up their equipment in one of the old alien cities and started digging. The minerals were exactly where the scans said they would be. Pete had never seen deposits so rich and pure. This is like finding gold just lying on the ground, Pete told his brother over the radio. We're going to make history here. Danny was operating one of the big mining machines. The company is going to love us. These readings are incredible. But they weren't alone in the system. 3 ships had been watching them from behind the outer planets. These ships belonged to the Zephyrian Empire, a powerful alien civilization that had claimed this area of space 300 years ago. The Zephyrians were tall, thin creatures with gray skin and large eyes. They had conquered dozens of worlds and considered themselves the masters of this part of the galaxy. To them, humans were just another primitive species that needed to be controlled. Commander Thexfor led the Zephyrian patrol. He had been watching the human ships for days, trying to understand what they were doing. When he saw them start mining, he became angry. These primitives dare to steal from Zephyrian territory, he told his officers. Send a message to High Command. Tell them we have trespassers. The response from Zephyrian High Command was quick and clear. Remove the humans immediately. If they refuse to leave, destroy them. Thexfor's 3 ships moved toward the planet. They were much more advanced than human vessels, with powerful weapons and strong shields. The Zephyrians had been fighting wars for centuries and had never lost a battle. Pete was checking the mining equipment when the alien ships appeared in the sky above them. They were sleek and dark, moving silently through the atmosphere. Pete had never seen anything like them. "Danny, are you seeing this?" Pete called on the radio. "I see them," Danny replied. "They're not human ships." Captain Morrison's voice came over the radio from orbit. "All miners, this is the horizon. We have 3 unknown vessels approaching your position. Stay calm and keep working. I'm trying to contact them." The alien ships landed near the mining site. Tall, gray figures emerged from them, wearing dark armor and carrying weapons that hummed with energy. The Zephyrians walked toward the humans with confident steps. Pete and his team stopped their machines and gathered together. They had no weapons except mining tools. The aliens looked dangerous, but Pete hoped they could talk and avoid trouble. The lead Zephyrian, Commander Thexfor, spoke in a voice that sounded like metal scraping against stone. His words were translated by a small device on his chest, but the translation was not perfect. "You invade Zephyrian space. You steal Zephyrian resources. You must leave now or face destruction." Pete stepped forward, trying to look peaceful. "We didn't know anyone claimed this planet. We're just miners looking for materials our people need. Maybe we can work together." Thexfor's large eyes stared at Pete with disgust. "Primitives do not negotiate with Zephyrians. You leave now, or you die." "Look," Pete said, "we can share this planet. There's enough minerals here for everyone. We don't want to fight." The Zephyrian commander raised his weapon. "You have 1 hour to remove all equipment and leave this system. If you are still here after that time, we will destroy you." Pete felt his heart pounding. "We have families back on Earth who need these minerals. Can't we talk about this?" "No talk," Thexfor said. "Leave or die." The Zephyrians turned and walked back to their ships. Pete and his team watched them go, not knowing what to do. They had spent weeks getting to this system and days setting up their equipment. Going back empty-handed would be a disaster. "Pete," Danny said quietly, "maybe we should pack up and go. Those aliens look serious." "We can't just give up," Pete replied. "Let me talk to Captain Morrison. Maybe he has an idea." But as Pete reached for his radio, something went wrong. One of the Zephyrian ships was taking off, and its engines were pointed toward the mining site. The alien pilot thought he was just demonstrating Zephyrian power, firing warning shots into the air. The energy blast from the ship's engines was meant to scare the humans, not hurt them. But the Zephyrian pilot didn't understand how fragile human bodies were compared to Zephyrian ones. The blast hit the ground near the mining equipment and sent rocks and metal flying in all directions. Pete dove for cover, but he saw Danny standing in the open, too surprised to move. A piece of metal, heated by the alien weapon, struck Danny in the chest. 2 other miners were hit by flying rocks. Pete crawled over to his brother. Danny was badly hurt, blood spreading across his shirt. The other 2 miners were already dead. "Pete," Danny whispered. "I can't feel my legs." Pete held his brother while Danny died in his arms. The other miners gathered around them, angry and scared. They had come here to work, not to fight. But the aliens had killed their friends. Captain Morrison's voice came over the radio, urgent and worried. "Pete, what happened down there? I'm reading explosions." "They killed my brother," Pete said, his voice full of rage. "They killed Danny and 2 others. It was supposed to be a warning, but they killed them. The Zephyrians had not meant to kill anyone." Commander Thexfer was surprised when his sensors showed human life signs disappearing. He had only wanted to frighten them into leaving, but the damage was done. 3 humans were dead, and the others were angry. Pete looked up at the alien ships, with hatred in his eyes. "Captain Morrison," Pete said into his radio, "tell Earth Command that the aliens fired first. Tell them we're not leaving." The first contact between humans and the Zephyrian Empire had gone terribly wrong. What was supposed to be a simple mining operation had become the spark that would start a war neither side expected. The emergency meeting at Earth Command started at 3 in the morning. President Helen Rodriguez had flown in from the capital, her face showing the worry she felt. She sat at the head of the long table, surrounded by Earth's most important leaders. Admiral Ryan Cooper stood at the front of the room, pointing to a large screen that showed the Kepler 442 system. "3 of our people are dead," he said. "The alien commander claims it was an accident, but our miners don't see it that way. What do we know about these aliens?" President Rodriguez asked. Colonel Alex Harper stepped forward. "They call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. From what we can tell, they control a large area of space around our new territories. They've been expanding for hundreds of years." Defense Secretary Carl Thompson looked at the pictures of the alien ships. "How advanced are they compared to us?" "Much more advanced," Alex admitted. "Their ships are faster, their weapons are stronger, and their shields are better than ours. A single Zephyrian ship could probably destroy 3 of our vessels." President Rodriguez felt a cold fear in her stomach. "How many ships do they have?" "We don't know exactly," Ryan said. "But intelligence suggests they have hundreds of warships, maybe thousands. They've conquered dozens of worlds." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Humanity had accidentally started a fight with an enemy they couldn't beat. "Maybe we should apologize and leave," suggested Thompson. "Cut our losses before this gets worse." "No," President Rodriguez said firmly. "We have 30 miners on that planet, and we're not abandoning them. What are our options?" Before anyone could answer, the communications officer entered the room. "Madam President, we're receiving a transmission from the alien ships. They're demanding to speak with our leader." "Put it through," Rodriguez ordered. The screen changed to show a tall gray alien in elaborate armor. His voice was cold and mechanical when he spoke. "I am Supreme General Kothran of the Zephyrian Empire. You will listen to my words carefully." President Rodriguez stood up. "I'm President Rodriguez of Earth. I'm listening. Your species has trespassed in Zephyrian space. You have stolen Zephyrian resources. You have ignored Zephyrian warnings. This cannot be allowed." "Our people were exploring unclaimed space," Rodriguez replied. "We found an empty planet and thought we could mine there peacefully. We didn't know you claimed it." "Ignorance is not an excuse," Kothran said. "All worlds in this sector belong to the Zephyrian Empire. You will remove all personnel and equipment immediately." 3 of our people are dead," Rodriguez said, her voice getting stronger. "Your ships fired on unarmed miners." "That was an accident," Kothran replied without emotion. "Commander Thexfer was warning your people to leave. He did not expect your species to be so fragile." The casual way he talked about human deaths made Rodriguez angry. "Fragile? You killed 3 innocent people." And I regret this accident, Cothran said, though his voice showed no regret. But it changes nothing. You had 72 hours to remove all humans from our territory. If you refuse, we will remove you ourselves. That's not enough time. Rodriguez protested. We need at least a week to safely evacuate everyone. 72 hours, Cothran repeated. After that time, any human in Zephyrian space will be considered an enemy and destroyed. This is not a negotiation. This is an ultimatum. The screen went black. President Rodriguez stared at it for a long moment, then turned to face her advisors. Opinions? We should evacuate, Thompson said immediately. We can't fight an empire. What about our people on the planet? Admiral Cooper asked. Pete Johnson and his team are refusing to leave. They want justice for the men who died. Colonel Harper was studying data on his tablet. Madam President, I've been analyzing the alien ship formations. They're very disciplined, very organized, but that might be a weakness. How so? Rodriguez asked. They follow patterns. Strict patterns. Their ships move in formations that haven't changed in decades. They're powerful, but they're predictable. That doesn't help us much when they have better technology, Thompson pointed out. Maybe it does, Harper said. I've been studying every space battle in human history. The side with better technology doesn't always win. Sometimes the side that's more creative and flexible wins. President Rodriguez felt a spark of hope. What are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything yet, Harper said carefully. But I think we should at least consider our options before we run away. Admiral Cooper nodded. I agree. If we abandon our people now, what happens the next time we meet aliens? They'll think humans are weak and easy to push around. Or we could avoid making more enemies, Thompson argued. Sometimes the smart thing is to retreat and live to fight another day. Rodriguez walked to the window and looked out at the city. Below, millions of people were sleeping peacefully, not knowing that their species had just made contact with a powerful alien empire. The decisions she made in the next few minutes would affect all of humanity's future. How long would it take to get our defense fleet to the Kepler 442 system? She asked. 4 days, Cooper replied. But Madam President, our fleet is designed to defend Earth. We've never fought a real space battle. Neither have the Zephyrians, Harper said. At least, not against humans. They're used to fighting primitive aliens who use old technology. They don't know what humans are capable of. What are humans capable of? Rodriguez asked. Harper smiled for the first time since the meeting began. We're stubborn. We're creative. And we don't follow the rules when our survival is at stake. Thompson shook his head. You're talking about starting a war we can't win. Maybe, Harper said. But maybe we can make it too expensive for them to fight. President Rodriguez made her decision. Admiral Cooper, prepare the defense fleet. I want our best ships and our best crews ready to leave in 12 hours. Madam President, Thompson said, I must strongly advise against this course of action. Your advice is noted, Rodriguez replied. But I won't abandon our people, and I won't let aliens think they can push humanity around. If the Zephyrians want to fight, they'll get one. Cooper saluted. I'll have Captain Linda Walsh prepare the fleet. She's our best commander. Tell Captain Walsh she has full authority to use any tactics necessary, Rodriguez ordered. And tell her that the future of humanity might depend on what happens in the next few days. As the meeting ended, Rodriguez remained at the window. In 72 hours, humans would either prove themselves worthy of respect in the galaxy, or they would learn that some fights were too big to win. Either way, humanity's quiet expansion into space was over. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn that humans were not like other species they had conquered. Humans didn't surrender easily, and they didn't fight fair when their survival was threatened. The ultimatum had been delivered. But President Rodriguez had just delivered her own message. Humanity would not run away. Captain Linda Walsh stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, watching her crew prepare for departure. She had commanded the ship for 3 years, but this was different from any mission she had ever received. They were going to fight an alien. Empire and everyone knew they might not come back. "Captain," her communications officer said, "Admiral Cooper is calling from Earth Command." Linda's face appeared on the main screen at Earth Command. Admiral Cooper looked tired but determined. "Linda, you understand what we're asking you to do?" "Yes, sir," Linda replied. "Defend our people and show the aliens that humans won't be pushed around. Your fleet is our best, but it's not our strongest," Cooper said. "I'm giving you our most experienced commanders, but you'll still be outnumbered." Linda nodded. "I have Commander Tony Garcia on the U.S. Valor, Captain Beth Andrews on the U.S. Freedom, and 8 other good captains. We'll make it work." "Remember," Cooper said, "your job isn't to win a war. It's to make the aliens think twice about fighting us. If you can do that, you'll have succeeded." After the call ended, Linda looked at her tactical display. Her fleet consisted of 12 ships, 3 heavy cruisers, 5 destroyers, and 4 support vessels. It was the largest human fleet ever assembled, but it was still small compared to what the Zephyrians could send. Her second in command, Lieutenant Commander Steve Adams, joined her at the display. "Captain, I've been studying the alien ship formations. They like to attack in straight lines, very organized and predictable." "That's what Colonel Harper said," Linda replied. "What do you think we should do about it?" "Hit and run," Steve said. "Immediately. Don't let them force us into a straight fight. Use the asteroids and planets for cover. Make them chase us." Linda smiled. "That's exactly what I was thinking. Prepare the fleet for unconventional tactics." Meanwhile, on the mining planet, Pete Johnson and his team were turning their equipment into weapons. They had refused Admiral Cooper's order to evacuate, and now they were preparing to defend themselves. Maria Santos, the chief engineer for the mining operation, was working on the main power generator. "Pete, I think I can overload the mining charges to create big explosions. It won't stop their ships, but it might slow them down." "Do it," Pete said. "What else can we use?" "The mining lasers can be turned into weapons," Maria said. "They're not powerful enough to hurt their ships, but they might damage their ground forces." Administrator Kevin Blake, who ran the mining colony, gathered the 30 miners in the main shelter. "I know Admiral Cooper ordered us to evacuate, but we all voted to stay. This is our home now, and we're going to defend it." The miners cheered, but Pete could see the fear in their eyes. They were brave people, but they were not soldiers. They were miners, engineers, and technicians who had come to space looking for a better life. "Maria," Pete said quietly, "how long can we hold out?" "Against their ground forces?" "Maybe a few hours," Maria replied honestly. "We're not fighters, Pete. We're just people with tools." "Then we'll have to be smart about it," Pete said. "Use the old alien ruins for cover. Set traps. Make them work for every meter of ground." Back in space, Captain Walsh's fleet was approaching the Kepler 442 system. The journey from Earth had taken 4 days, and they had spent every hour preparing for battle. The crew knew they were facing superior technology, but they also knew they were fighting for their species' future. Commander Garcia's ship, the U.S. Valor, was the fastest in the fleet. He had volunteered to scout ahead and report on enemy positions. "Captain Walsh, I'm detecting multiple alien ships in the system. At least 15 vessels, maybe more." "Any sign of their main fleet?" Linda asked. "Not yet," Garcia replied. "But I think these are just the advanced scouts. The real fleet is probably still coming." Captain Andrews, commanding the UES Freedom, joined the conversation. "Captain Walsh, my engineers have been working on something. We think we can use our cargo containers as decoy ships. Make the aliens think our fleet is bigger than it really is." "Interesting," Linda said. "How would that work?" "We program the containers to move like ships and broadcast fake signals," Andrews explained. "In the confusion of battle, the aliens might waste time shooting at empty boxes." Linda liked the idea. "Do it. Any advantage we can get is worth trying." Dr. Nick Peterson, a scientist who had joined the fleet to study alien technology, was working in the ship's laboratory. He had been analyzing the recordings from the first contact, looking for weaknesses in Zephyrian technology. "Captain," he called over the intercom, "I think I found something. The alien ships use a specific frequency for their communications. If we can jam that frequency, we might be able to confuse their coordination." "Can you build a jammer?" Linda asked. "I think so," Peterson replied. "It will take a few hours, but I can modify our communications equipment." As the human fleet prepared for battle, the Zephyrians were also getting ready. Supreme General Kothran had arrived in the system with 20 warships, confident that the primitive humans would either surrender or be easily destroyed. War Captain Vexthul, Kothran's second-in-command, studied the human fleet on his display. "General, the humans have 12 ships. Our smallest patrol could destroy them. Do not underestimate them," Kothran warned. "They refused our ultimatum, which means they either have a plan or they are too stupid to understand their situation." "What plan could they have?" Vexthul asked. "Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs." "That is what concerns me," Kothran said. "Species that survive in space are usually not stupid. If they are willing to fight us, they must believe they can win." The Zephyrian fleet moved into attack formation, their ships arranged in perfect lines. It was a formation that had won 100 battles across the galaxy. The Zephyrians had used the same tactics for so long that they had become tradition. Captain Walsh watched the alien ships on her display. They were beautiful in their own way, sleek and deadly. But they were also predictable, just like Colonel Harper had said. "All ships," Linda broadcast to her fleet, "remember the plan. We're not trying to destroy them all. We're trying to make them think we're more dangerous than we actually are." Commander Garcia's voice came over the radio. "Captain, the aliens are moving into attack position. They're forming up just like our intelligence predicted." "Perfect." Linda said, "Let them come to us. Steve, activate the decoy containers. Dr. Peterson, start jamming their communications. Everyone else, prepare for the fight of your lives." The human fleet spread out among the asteroids, each ship taking position behind cover. The Zephyrians continued their advance, expecting an easy victory. On the mining planet, Pete Johnson watched the alien ships in the sky. He could see the human fleet in the distance, small dots of light against the stars. "Maria, are the charges ready?" "Ready," Maria replied. "If they try to land, we'll give them a surprise." "Good," Pete said. "Remember, we're not trying to win. We're trying to make them pay for every step they take." The battle was about to begin. Humanity's first real test in space would determine whether they were strong enough to survive in a galaxy full of powerful enemies. The Zephyrians expected an easy victory, but they were about to learn that humans were not like other species. They had conquered. Captain Walsh took one last look at her fleet. 12 ships against 20. Inferior technology against superior firepower. But humans had something the Zephyrians didn't expect: the willingness to fight dirty and the creativity to turn weakness into strength. "All ships," Linda broadcast. "This is it. Let's show them what humans are made of." The Zephyrian fleet moved through space like a perfect machine. 20 warships in flawless formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of the distant sun. Supreme General Cothron stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident that this battle would be over quickly. "General," War Captain Vex Thule reported, "our sensors show the human fleet hiding behind the asteroids. They have 12 ships, just as we expected." "Cowards," Cothran said with disgust. "They hide behind rocks instead of fighting with honor." "Should we pursue them into the asteroid field?" Vexthal asked. "No," Cothran replied. "We will use our superior range to destroy them from a distance. Order all ships to begin bombardment." The Zephyrian ships opened fire together, their energy weapons lighting up space with brilliant flashes. The beams struck the asteroids where the human ships were hiding, turning rock into dust and debris. But the humans weren't where the Zephyrians expected them to be. Captain Linda Walsh watched the alien attack from her hiding spot behind a large asteroid. "They're shooting at our old positions," she said to her crew. "Just like we planned," Lieutenant Commander Steve Adams smiled. "They're following their standard attack pattern. Fire first, then move forward in formation." "All ships," Linda broadcast. "Quietly, wait for my signal. Let them get closer." The Zephyrian fleet advanced, still firing at the places where their sensors had detected human ships. But those sensors were being fooled by the decoy containers that Captain Andrews had deployed. The empty cargo boxes were broadcasting fake signals, making the aliens think they were shooting at real ships. Commander Garcia's voice came over the radio from the U's Valor. "Captain Walsh, I'm in position behind the big asteroid. I can see their flagship. Hold position," Linda ordered. "Wait until they're committed to their attack run." On the mining planet below, Pete Johnson watched the light show in space. The alien weapons were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Maria, are you seeing this?" "I see it," Maria Santos replied. "Those weapons are more powerful than anything we have, but they're shooting at empty space," Pete pointed out. "Maybe our people have a chance after all." The Zephyrian fleet continued its advance, confident that they were destroying the human ships. Their sensors showed multiple hits, and their computers confirmed that human vessels were being destroyed. "Excellent," Cothron said. "The primitives are no match for Zephyrian technology. Continue the attack." But then something unexpected happened. The human ships suddenly appeared from new positions, emerging from behind different asteroids. They had been moving silently while the Zephyrians were focused on their bombardment. "General," Vexthal shouted, "the human ships are still intact. They're attacking our flanks." The human fleet struck from 3 directions at once. Captain Walsh led the main attack from the left. Commander Garcia hit from the right, and Captain Andrews attacked from below. The Zephyrians, arranged in their perfect formation, suddenly found themselves surrounded. "Impossible," Cothran snarled. "How did they move without our sensors detecting them?" The answer was simple. Dr. Peterson's communication jammer wasn't just blocking Zephyrian radio signals. It was also interfering with their long-range sensors, creating blind spots that the humans could hide in. Captain Walsh's ship, the U's Defiance, fired everything it had at the nearest Zephyrian vessel. The human weapons were weaker than alien ones, but they were accurate. The Zephyrian ship's shields flared under the concentrated fire. "Target their shield generators," Linda ordered. "Don't try to destroy them. Just damage them." The human strategy was working. Instead of trying to win a straight fight, they were using hit-and-run tactics. Strike fast, cause damage, then retreat back into the asteroids before the aliens could respond. Commander Garcia's ship, the U's Valor, attacked a Zephyrian destroyer from behind. The alien ship was focusing on Captain Walsh's attack and didn't see Garcia coming until it was too late. "Fire everything," Garcia shouted to his crew. The Valor's weapons struck the Zephyrian ship's engines, causing explosions that lit up the darkness of space. The alien destroyer spun out of control, its engines damaged and sparking. It wasn't destroyed, but it was out of the fight. First blood. To humanity. Garcia called over the radio, but the Zephyrians were quick to adapt. War Captain Vexthal ordered his ships to break formation and pursue the human vessels individually. They want to play games, Vexthal snarled. Hunt them down. Show them that Zephyrian ships are faster and stronger. The alien ships split up and began chasing the human vessels through the asteroid field. Their ships were indeed faster, and their weapons had longer range. But the humans knew the asteroid field better, having spent days mapping every rock and crater. Captain Andrews, commanding the UES Freedom, led 3 Zephyrian ships on a wild chase through the largest asteroid cluster. "Come on," she muttered. To herself, "Just a little closer." The alien ships followed her deeper into the asteroids, firing constantly but missing their target. Andrews knew exactly where she was going. She had spent hours planning this route. At the last second, Andrews pulled her ship up and over a massive asteroid. The 3 Zephyrian ships, moving at full speed, couldn't turn quickly enough. 2 of them crashed into the asteroid, their hulls cracking open and spilling air into space. The 3rd ship managed to stop just in time, but it was damaged and alone. 3 down, Andrews reported, continuing the evasive maneuvers. Supreme General. Kothron watched his perfect battle plan fall apart. His ships were faster and stronger, but the humans were fighting like nothing he had ever seen before. They used the environment as a weapon, turned their weakness into strength, and refused to fight fair. "General," Vexthal said, "we should pull back and regroup. These humans are more dangerous than we thought." "No," Kothron shouted. "We are. The Zephyrian Empire. We do not retreat from primitives." But even as he spoke, another human attack was developing. Captain Walsh had been watching the battle, waiting for the right moment. Now, with the Zephyrian ships scattered and confused, she saw her chance. "All ships," Linda broadcast, "converge on the flagship. Full attack." The entire human fleet emerged from the asteroids at once, racing toward Kothron's command ship. The Zephyrian general had been so focused on hunting individual human vessels that he had left his flagship exposed. "Protect the general," Vexthal ordered, but it was too late. The human ships were already attacking. 12 human vessels against 1 alien flagship. The numbers should have favored the humans, but the Zephyrian ship was massive and heavily armed. Its weapons fired in all directions, forcing the human ships to dodge and weave to avoid being destroyed. "Their shields are too strong," Steve Adams reported. "We can't break through." "Then we don't break through," Linda replied. "We go around." She ordered half her ships to attack from above, while the other half attacked from below. The Zephyrian flagship couldn't defend against attacks from all angles at once, but the battle was taking its toll on the human fleet. 2 destroyers had taken heavy damage and were falling behind. The UES Freedom's engines were failing, and Captain Andrews was struggling to keep up with the formation. "Captain Walsh," Andrews called over the radio, "my ship is badly damaged. I don't think we can continue the attack." "Fall back to the mining planet," Linda ordered. "Protect our people on the surface." The battle in space was reaching its climax. The human fleet had proven they could fight, but they were still outnumbered and outgunned. The Zephyrians were confused and angry, but they were far from defeated. On the mining planet, Pete Johnson watched the explosions in the sky above. "Maria, get everyone into the shelters. I think some of those alien ships are coming our way." "What? About the mining equipment?" Maria asked. "Leave it," Pete replied. "We can always build new machines. We can't replace people." As the miners took cover, 3 damaged Zephyrian ships broke away from the main battle and headed for the planet's surface. They were looking for an easy target, something they could destroy to salvage their pride. But Pete and his team were ready for them. They had spent days preparing defenses, and they were determined to make the aliens pay for every meter of ground. The first Zephyrian ship landed near the mining site, and armored alien soldiers poured out of it. They expected to find terrified humans hiding in fear. Instead, they found prepared fighters who had turned their workplace into a fortress. The mining charges that Maria had rigged exploded under the alien troops, sending them flying. The converted. Mining lasers fired from concealed positions, forcing the Zephyrians to take cover. "Welcome to Earth mining," Pete said grimly as he triggered another explosion. "We dig deep and we fight dirty." The battle for humanity's future was being fought on two fronts. In space, where Captain Walsh's fleet was proving that humans could adapt and survive against superior technology. And on the ground, where ordinary. Miners were showing that humans would never surrender without a fight. The Zephyrians had expected an easy victory. Instead, they were learning that humans were unlike any species they had ever encountered. Humans didn't follow the rules of civilized warfare. They improvised, they adapted, and they never gave up. Supreme General Cothron stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Half his fleet was damaged or destroyed. His ground forces were pinned down by mining equipment turned into weapons, and the human ships were still.